Retail is a very funny business. It is, it is very simple. There's no complexities in this business. You can get up in the morning, take a flight to China, buy some merchandise, come back, display it on Amazon, and the sale starts. But all of us struggle to understand this interesting animal. When I was running Barista, I just couldn't understand how come only same number of chocolate brownies sell every Wednesday evening and week after week. How do different set of people decide that only these many number of people will go to the store and have chocolate brownie? And it was very complex equation to solve a simple business number that how do we order food for next Wednesday. So in a simple business, the real estate is a platform to bring businesses together, and what we are trying to do is to reflect upon the social fabric of the micro market geography, because retail is a reflection of social fabric. And at the end of the day, as platform, as infrastructure, we are trying to bridge the gap between demand and supply and bringing the two ends of the story together. The question arises here is that how do mall connect with these consumers, and what is that it makes difference for the design and development of a mall, while some of them get it and some of them don't get it. I can share a simple example. Ahmedabad used to be known as a city of dead malls. Much prior to a good mall came up, and it suddenly changed the image and perception, and something they did right, which 11, 12 others could not, and got branded as a city of dead malls. Malls not only need to design well, they also need to be kept relevant. And what is that we need? Why do we need to stay relevant? Why don't we just make a good quality mall and just be it and move on to the next project? Why have to keep going back and work on keeping them relevant for the business to sustain? So, as I said, retail is linked to the social fabric, and as society, as our consumers go through different experiences, their expectations change. Now, look at how, have somebody seen a movie called Raju Ban Gaya Gentleman? Yeah? His entire love story was on the base that he goes to the developer owner and says, the customer does not need swimming pools, they do not need fancy gyms, they need a school. And this was a movie 25 years back, right? Talking about how residential development should be. And in 25 years, we are talking about fancy restaurants, butler services, larger than life gyms, and most of the advertisements say Olympic-sized swimming pool. Am I right? The whole living experience is changed. Where our customer is living today is very different from where they were living 25 years back. The offices that we are going to are no more, Nehru Place, anybody remembers? You don't know when the building will catch fire. There are more wires hanging outside than the computers inside. The whole work experience has changed. Our consumers today are going to much fancier office complexes. They have recreational spaces in office. The lobbies are larger than 5-star lobbies. And the developers are promoting Friday events. There are concerts happening. There are stand-up comedy happenings in our complexes. And there is food and beverage. And there are entertainment services available in our office complexes. That customer is experiencing a lot that a mall used to offer earlier at their workplace. Our offices are looking like cafes. There are grass hanging from the ceiling. The furniture is much more younger. The space is open. We are destroying the cabins and we're making open spaces. When we feel good, when we work well, when we live well, we want to travel well. Look at our social infrastructure around the cities. Our airports are fancier than any other airport in the world. We travel well, we enjoy life, we feel good, we feel well. We are exposed to much higher quality infrastructure today in this country, whether it is road infrastructure, roadside food plazas, highways, offices, residential, airports, railway stations, the trains in which we travel, the air-conditioned buses, all of that is just going up, up, up. And it all makes us feel good. And when we are not feeling well, even our hospitals are amazing. They are 5-star, right? There is a point in our country today, or globally also we are seeing the same, that the differentiation of delivery of infrastructure, whether it is school, education, whether it is residential, whether it is offices, whether it is hospitals, is merging and is becoming uniform and coming across with presentation of all elements, elements of aspiration, design, richness, and hospitality. And this customer, when they come to a mall, which is by design an aspirational product, right? I go to mall to feel good. I go to mall to enjoy time. And then I am expecting something better, bigger, larger than what is available in my office, what is available in my residential society, what is available on airports, and hence there is a pressure. Over the years, we have seen, and what we are doing at Inorbit is, the picture that you see here is of Inorbit Malad, which is 21-year-old. Most of the pictures here are already executed at site. They are real pictures, and 1 or 2 are work in progress. After 21 years, the mall will be looking younger, will be looking richer, will be presenting itself at par with any new modern mall. The continuous work of upgrading the asset, making it relevant, making it young, keeping it fresh, bringing in elements of connect with the newer customer. The other big thing happening along with the infrastructure development and being a developing country, that our salary levels or income levels are rising, and they are rising fast, and they are rising healthy. If you look at last 23 years, the CAGR is 13%. And that means a huge amount of change in disposable income. There are cycles. Once you have your basic cost cover, the disposable income grows faster than the real income, because disposable is discretionary and it goes up. And what is it doing to us? It is forcing us to become more premium, because customer is willing to buy premium product. It is also pushing people to branded products. So while on a premium side, people are buying better experiences, people are buying better products, high quality products, apparel, food. On the bottom side, the non-branded consumer is getting into value-priced branded, which also is becoming a organized retail or part of the organized retail. And with that, we are changing and seeing that the experience part is playing a lot role. So there are categories where the incremental price point does not change much, but the experience change exponentially. So if you see movie exhibition, from a normal seat to a recliner, the delta in a price point is not as high as the delta in experience is. So you will see slowly and steadily more and more consumer adopting a better quality seat, demand better quality seat. Similarly in F&B, the increase in price of the product is not as exponential as the experience of the product. And hence you see these categories moving up in price point faster and getting adopted by the consumers much faster. A good example is Uber, air-conditioned transportation within the cities, Ola. As the products are available, again, the delta in price is not as high, but the experience is high. The other product category which penetrates faster with premiumization is the non-apparel. So if you look at higher price point, non-apparel products move in faster into the consumer lifestyle. So the watches, shoes, bags, belts, wallets, any kind of accessories will move into the wardrobe faster at a higher price point and then get followed by the apparel. So if you are in a micro market which is seeing this change happening, then you need to start providing more space for premium products in non-apparel categories. So that's how you understand the trend, and then you continue to stay relevant in those trends and give customer what they are looking at it. And if you see across the malls now or high street, you will see more penetration by cosmetics, you will see more penetration by watches, you will see more penetration by bags, shoes, and the categories like that. Yesterday we were discussing that now people have what used to be 2 to 3 pair of shoes, now they have 20 pair of shoes, right? It's kind of non-apparel accessory. One of the reason is apparel gets noticed, accessory can get paired with many more apparel, so it's multiple use, and hence customer is happy to spend little more on that accessory, which can be used multiple times than in comparison to an apparel. With premiumization, the customer buying behavior changes a lot into the categories which are changing their space requirement, or they are changing the wallet share. So if you see over the years, department stores and the larger store formats have shrunken a little. Hypermarkets have seen immense pressure from multiple categories which have gone online and has gone down in sizes. Entertainment has grown bigger. Virtual reality games and all these categories are coming in. Food and beverage is taking more space. Now, how do you stay relevant? By creating space and using the opportunities of non-performing categories to convert them into the latest upcoming relevant categories for consumer. Sometimes resizing is not so easy, and then you have to look at an appropriate time when the resizing of the spaces, a reallocation of the spaces can be done. The change is not permanent, and every 2 to 3 years we see that new kind of categories emerge, new kind of price point, new kind of size requirements come, and in a very, very inflexible space like a mall, which is all concrete, we joke around with people, do you have a concrete plan? And in a mall, everything is concrete. You can't get more concrete than concrete it is. And to make changes there so frequently is very, very difficult, and hence it takes some kind of planning, few years of understanding of the trends, and be sure, because once you change it, it's not so easily changeable again. The change in categories also brings in some kind of space planning changes, but the other thing which has changed over the times and keeps changing is the development control regulations in each cities. Now we have seen across the country, different malls used it to their advantage. We saw South City Mall, Calcutta adding another floor. We saw Pacific Mall adding more basement. Vineet, we will mail it to you. You don't have to worry about taking pictures of this plan. Don't worry, you are a good retailer. We won't miss you in our malls. Don't have this FOMO. So when the development control regulations change, there are a lot of opportunities. Now, this is our in-orbit Baroda Mall, where we are using the change in development control regulation, adding nearly 60% of the mall space to the existing mall. And this is quite a brain-damaging project. What you see on the left is the existing mall. What you see on the right is what it is going to be in 2 years' time. The work is going on. But you have to reposition the entire mall because the size has changed. And with the size, the catchment reach has changed. And along with that, the offerings will change, and hence the positioning will change. Now, it is not only just adding real estate to the existing project, but to go through a complete emotional and offering proposition to make it look like a fresh mall again. It's kind of a rebirth of the asset and a repositioning of the asset. So this development control regulation is giving opportunities. While our assets can expand, our geographies are also expanding. The developing country creating a lot of new infrastructure, lot of flyovers, bridges. And if you see the right side picture, some of the malls on the left side of the creek starting marketing themselves on the right side of the creek, and some of the malls on the right side of the creek started marketing themselves to the catchment in the left side of the creek. While before this bridge, it was 60 kilometer apart. Now it is 22 kilometer apart and takes only 25. So infrastructure creates new opportunities. Development of infrastructure creates new opportunities. It makes your catchment expand at times. And some very unlucky malls where the infrastructure just starts right outside their door have also seen the flip, that the accessibility to the asset became so bad that they saw a shrinking of the catchment, and you got to have a strategy around it. Now, luckily, unlike internet world or technology, these things do not change overnight. We always get few years of understanding that these projects are coming, and then we can plan for it. But they need a rethinking. They need a rethinking in terms of where new customer base can come in. So in Hyderabad, when we had this bottom left picture, which is a bridge over a lake, it brought the rich catchment of Banjara Hill and Jubilee Hill at a drive time of 10 minutes to us. We had to rethink the entire strategy, and it helped us a lot in staying relevant in a very, very cluttered micro market where we see, or we have seen a lot of malls coming, bigger malls, and we could survive and we could continue to grow. This year, we will do the highest ever consumption, which is 15th year of mall in Hyderabad. Last year, we were again the highest consumption for that year, and I hope with our work and relevance, we continue to be the highest consumption in the coming years for lifetime. Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you for renovating store as well. And I hope that incremental will add to our achieving our targets. So while expansion of catchment is opportunity, there is localization of catchment also happening at the same time. If you look at Mumbai, there was a mall which opened in 1999. The whole city was available as a catchment. Then somebody else came in, divided the city into two. Then somebody else came in, divided the city into three. Somebody else came in saying, I am also here. There's a shrinking of catchment. With every new asset opening, there's a localization of catchment happening. And more are coming, and they will keep coming. So far we were lucky. In last 20 years, we have seen localization of catchment. We have not seen so much of direct competition, right? We have not seen that one has to outshine the other because business grew and the drive time grew, and hence some bit of pressure on localization was because of the infrastructure in the city, population growth, urbanization as a theme. But here onward, I believe most malls will have to be sharp about their positioning. They have to be very sharp about who they are and who they connect with, because there will be direct competition. If everybody is having an ambition to grow, there will be malls next to each other. And we ourselves are making one mall next to our own mall, and both will be nearly 1 million square feet. And we are struggling in our minds to say how we can make that positioning so very sharp that it stands out as two different products, relate to two different consumer mindsets. This is going to be very, very critical aspect from the developer's point of view, because when you look at competition, not every mall will be of same size, not every mall will have the same anchor, non-anchor ratios, not every mall will be having same number of floors, there will be verticality, there will be horizontal malls. And then you need to really go deep diving into the price points, into the categories. A bigger mall has no other option. It has to be everything for everyone. A smaller mall has a beautiful opportunity to be someone for someone, right? And that kind of differentiates it. If you are a small mall sitting next to a big mall, you can be very sharp about your positioning. You can overdo certain categories. You can position yourself very, very sharply for a purpose in consumer's life, right? If you are a large mall, then you are little compelled because you need to be catering to a very large population, and then you need to have a balance in all category representation so that you make sense to a larger footfall in a month. If typically a mall does 10 to 12 lakh footfall, we are literally talking about everybody living around that property coming to mall once in a month. And then as a larger mall, you have to be having some offering for everyone. But if you are a smaller property, you can live with 3.5, 4 lakh footfall. You can be very sharp in your positioning. You can really make some categories stand out and present them so strongly that they stand out in consumers' mind, and they make it in their mind very clear that if for this purpose I want to be in this mall, and then you do that category very well, and that becomes your anchor. So not a retailer becoming an anchor, but a category becoming your anchor. You become very strong. Like in one of our mall, when we saw a big mall coming in, we really strengthened the F&B because we had a location advantage. We had more offices around our property, and we said F&B can be our strong point. We will hold back a lot of population which is coming here to work around, and location advantage, we will work on F&B. In another mall, when we were seeing competition coming in, and we said we cannot compete on fashion so much, we will compete on non-fashion categories, and because of the size of the stores we had, we really went very, very sharp on non-apparel categories, and we said we will overdo it. And we sharpened our positioning on F&B, and we sharpened our positioning on entertainment. So kind of strategies that you have to develop when you see localization and competition coming in, you have to stay relevant on that. To stay relevant, one of the key criteria, because when we talked about expansion, we talked about making stores bigger, shrinking the anchors and all that, the real estate has to be flexible. One of the things that makes real estate inflexible is the ownership. Now, in a mall, if one shop is owned by someone else, then suddenly they own a title to a physical space, right? That cannot be taken away. That cannot be merged with something else or made into a common space and relocate that. It's very complexity. So one is the physical aspect of a building, that it is difficult to make changes to a building, but the other is the title. And each mall works on a certain financial model. Is a very capital-intensive business. You have to keep pouring concrete for 4 or 5 years before you actually see revenues coming back to it. The holding cost, the interest cost during this construction period is as good as 30-35% of the total project cost. You know, if builders may not make money, but banks definitely make money. They are becoming richer. So if you have not bought bank stock, please buy now. It may make some money for you in future. Because more real estate is getting developed, more people are taking loans, and more people are paying back interest. So how do you play with that? You know, then you get stuck. Now, if I look at my mall in Malad, in last 21 years, we have gone through some serious physical changes to the asset twice. We did it in 2016, which was like 12 years after the mall got launched, and we are doing it now again. And we could do it because we own every square inch of the mall. Everything is owned by me, the physical asset, and the title is completely with us. If one of the shop was not owned by us, we will not be so flexible to move things around. But as I said, each one has a different financial model, and supply is very, very critical. Despite all the growth in retail in India, the real estate supply of a quality real estate supply in mall business has stayed in a band of 4.5 to 5.5 million square feet a year, which means we need more and more people to develop malls so that we can reach out and cater to the opportunities in the country. And some of the people who are not able to put that kind of intensive capital upfront are doing it through selling some part of real estate, but they're doing a good job. They're adding to the economy, they're adding to the industry. There is a good opportunity which is emerging for those guys who have not been having a complete ownership, is the small-scale REITs which have come as a regulation. The ticket size has been reduced. So a lot of these good quality malls who are doing well will have an opportunity where they don't have to buy back the real estate from the owner, but bring them together on one platform and convert their physical asset into a financial asset. And this brings more transparency, this brings more opportunity, because the entire physical asset is owned by one entity, which financially may be owned by multiple people. And valuations can transparently being brought in to say, okay, you own a prime real estate, it is valued more than somebody else who is sitting on a less prime real estate in the mall, let's say ground floor, first floor versus, and create a valuation differential and convert that physical asset into a financial asset, right? Now, once the entire physical asset is sitting in one umbrella entity, making these changes to stay relevant is far more easier. Otherwise, we will be sitting on an asset which will sit like a, is like you can call it a sitting duck, waiting for another big mall to come in and wipe you off. We have seen these examples, and not only smaller malls, but we have seen a very large mall in Noida, which because of the starter sale and sold model, which was doing very well at one time, with competition coming in, could not stay relevant because the ownership issues and ability to make changes. And because you do not own it fully, you also do not have the ability to invest back into property, into upgrading it, into making changes, into making category changes. And hence, the possibilities under this small-scale REIT is to bring the entire physical asset into a financial asset and then be able to make changes and stay relevant, and it can give you a longer life. As I said in the beginning that, retail is very closely linked to the social fabric, and as our consumer experiences change, their expectations change, and they continue to connect with these assets very, very differently. And to cater to those changes, you have to keep making changes. So upgradation of the assets to stay relevant, to stay aspirational, to bring in the aspects of hospitality, premiumness, youth looking. India is a young country. We all have seen these statistics where saying 65% of India is less than 35-year-old. And in this country, if you present yourself as a royal and heritage and old, it may not connect with the youth. You have to be more young in your appearance. You have to be more young in your approach. You have to be more, you have to be more youthful in your designs than rich and heritage. So staying relevant with the population, staying relevant with the premiumization theme which is running in the country, opportunities that you get to churn or to find players who are not doing well, to replace them with the higher price point, keep pushing the price point. As I discussed, the higher price points first penetrate through the non-apparel categories, accessories and all, and you can bring that in at a faster pace. Look at the higher price point there. Continue to make changes because your catchments are either expanding because of social infrastructure which is under development, or because of competition which comes in and then puts pressure on you. You have to be very sharp on your positioning. Future malls need to be far more position-centric than the product-centric, because there will be malls now competing with each other. Now, smaller towns, we are seeing there are 7, 8 malls, different sizes. Each one is nibbling away some business. And hence, you need to be very, very sharply positioned in those micro markets to have a connect with the consumers, to have a very strong recall with the consumers. And as I mentioned, the categories keep changing. Some categories start doing better, some categories start doing lesser. They connect with consumers differently, and how do you then bring your spaces more flexible and stay relevant? So thank you guys. Post-lunch, it was difficult to stay awake. We have been able to sail through this 30-35 minutes without sleeping. Thank you very much for bearing with me. Anyone have any questions? I will be happy to take. Jonathan? Thank you. Thank you. Vineet, you wanted to?
I was saying in the morning we were talking about experiences. So how is Inorbit trying to differentiate against the others in terms of the offering on experiences? It's just I wanted to understand.
So, when we talk about experiences, do not have a single yardstick of measure. A Tommy Hilfiger shopping experience is very different from Zara, and a Fab India shopping experience is very different from these two. Experience is a brand offering and connect and a promise to the consumer. When I go to Zara, I expect a certain level of service. When I go to Tommy Hilfiger, I expect a different level of service and experience. So, as a mall in each micro market, looking at what my opportunities are and who I am competing with, will decide how I position myself. Now, experience do not mean only digital screens, and it means a lot of quality. So as a brand, we will offer you certain quality of infrastructure, which is a bottom line. Like recent times, we have converted all our toilets in all malls as in air-conditioned toilets. So is a given now. Even in Visakhapatnam, smaller town, all our toilets will be air-conditioned. So there is a basic promise. The quality of air, the quality of smell, all will be nice, you know. So there are basic infrastructure promises that we make as a brand, which is given. And then beyond that, experience is also through the trade mix, is also through the tenant mix, and is also through services. So recently we have launched Indiaretailing.com, and we are talking about staying connected with our consumers, servicing them when they are not able to come to mall. It has started showing some results. I hope it grows into a bigger service for us. And at Inorbit, we are not looking at that as an e-commerce business. We are looking at that as a service, as a marketing opportunity to stay connected, to stay relevant to our consumers. And I hope that gives us some edge over our competition. We will have a higher recall in our consumers' life on a very regular basis. I hope that answers your question. Anand?
So I just wanted to ask what you started off with as retailers are repositioning, the footprint of hypermarkets are reducing. So when you make that change and if you're introducing something, an alternate, how would a developer, as a developer, would you look at an alternate? Because you're getting a certain kind of footfalls when if somebody is coming at a hypermarket, for example, and that might relate into a Tommy Hilfiger or other, shopping. But if you change it with something else, how would you? Is there a science to that, or what kind of customers you will get back? How do you retain the same kind of people? And obviously, you want to generate and get new footfalls, but how do you get them back?
So Anand, to start with, when you want to make a change, you have to be bold enough to say, I don't know what this change will bring, but I have some gut feeling, I have some hypothesis, and I am looking at some data point and trends and observations, and I believe this is my right business decision. There has to be a little bit of boldness, there has to be a little bit of gut feel, there has to be a little bit of courage to say, I want to make that change. So in Orbit Malad, when we first decided that we will not have hypermarket as a tenant after the first anchor tenure completed, it was a bold decision, and it went into discussion in boardrooms for like few months. Should we do it? Should we not do it? And we looked at the micro market, and we said, across the Nala, there is a hypercity, 120,000 feet of hypermarket sitting. 800 meter down the line, there is a D-Mart, which is again doing very well. Another 800 meter down the line, there is an Infinity Mall, which has a large hypermarket. And do I really need to compete in this category, or should I just let it go? And if I let it go, what do I replace it with? Can I replace it with the latest fashion offerings in the country? And H&M was entering that country, and we could accommodate that. Then we said, how do we retain the customer who was coming in to buy FMCG and fresh? Then we said, we can afford a small supermarket, and we spoke to Nature's Basket and brought a small in. So we could offer something. So where an hypermarket category was doing a trading density of 800, the smaller one is doing a trading density of 2,500. They make money, we make money. We bring in latest fashion into the mall. That does better, that brings more money. It turned out to be well, right? It could have turned other way around, but you have to at some stage challenge the markets and take decisions to stay relevant. Not taking risk is the biggest risk to your business. You have to believe in something that you are doing, and you have to take risk. Luckily, some of these decisions are not permanent in life. They may have a cost attached to it, but you can always learn from them and redo it. How much time I have? Sunil wanted to ask a question. One more? Thank you. Thank you for being so gracious.
Thank you. This is a question which relates to what you just completed. Which would be two things, design-wise, which you have tried to incorporate in your Visakhapatnam mall or a Hubli, and two things category-wise which you have wished and will try to do it in both these new futuristic malls?
So category is a very temporary decision. Visakhapatnam is a very large mall, 1.4 million square feet, and as I said, when I'm looking at 15, 16 lakh people coming in a month, I need to be everything for everyone. So every category should have a representation, every price point should have a representation. So when I say trade and tenant mix is basically saying these are the categories. and tenant mix is to say these are the price points. So one definition runs horizontal, where we are talking about different categories hanging onto that bar, and the other definition runs vertical, where we are saying, in denim, am I covering all price points to be relevant to everyone? So can I start with a 3,000 denim and go up to 30,000 rupee denim, so that I'm having something to offer to everyone? So in a large mall, you're basically compelled by the size to be everything to everyone. You know, everybody should get all kind of categories and price points. You have less choices. You may feel you have a lot of space, but you have much lesser choices. But in a smaller mall like Malad, or what we are doing in Hubli, is a tier 4 kind of a market. There are certain price points we believe may not work, so we are not looking at those. We are also looking at rationalizing the categories. We may have a very small representation of home, or we may have a very small representation of electronic, because we see a lot of shops on the high street next to us. And our idea is to, whichever micro market we are, our idea is to say, we are not competing with our neighbors. Can collectively we become a bigger market, right? So Hubli, we have a strong high street around it. What we are looking at in our tenant mix is, me and the 20 retailers around me, can we become a big regional hub, so that we encourage people from 150 kilometers to drive down, because collectively our offering is big. So we are selective in choosing the tenant and the trade mix to make the hub stronger than to make the mall stronger. Together we will be far bigger market and attract far more people than collectively, singularly that I can be. So similarly, when I talked about hypermarket example in Malad, we looked at collective market offering and saying, I don't need to offer what my neighbors are already offering. And hence, that's how you design it. Thank you very much. Before anybody else asks question, and I find myself difficult to say no, Anish is already here. Thank you very much. Thank you for staying awake.